Well, college football fans, Clemson Tiger fans, welcome back to another live show here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. I'm your host, Tiger Paul Craven. Thank you for joining me. We are going to get into some transfer portal talk tonight. We'll talk about all the guys transferring from Clemson. I think we got about 9 guys in the transfer portal right now. We'll talk about maybe Clemson using the transfer portal for probably the first time. Well, not probably, the first time since the transfer portal has really been a thing. I don't really count Hunter Johnson from last year. That wasn't really the utilizing the transfer portal. That was more of a deal that Dabo made because Hunter Johnson wanted to come back and coach. And we needed some QB depth, so we made a deal. So that's kind of what happened there. But before we get into all that stuff, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please help us out. Do so. We hit our goal of 4,000 for the football season. So we hit and we are now surpassed that goal. So as always, on to the next. So we're on to 5,000 there. So help us get there. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And then hit that like button. This is a live video. Likes do matter for the live video as far as the algorithm goes and how they get it pushed out. If you want to support the channel monetarily in any way, links are in the description of this video, and you can also utilize the super chat feature at any point in time. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on my buddy, my partner here on the show, fan favorite, Jordan Bowman. Jordan, thanks for joining me, man. How you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Living the dream.
Hey, man.
It's a little weird to be doing this show finally without a Clemson football game happening this weekend. So it's gonna be interesting. But we have a lot to talk about. I'm really excited. Some guys leaving the program, some changes being made, and some potential incoming guys are coming in. So there's a lot to talk about. So I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. You are right. Little weird. I think our second show we've ever done that we weren't talking about a specific game. We did kind of the bye week this year. We did kind of a mid-season award show and kind of had some fun with that with some of the people in the chat. So our second live show ever where we're not specifically talking about a Clemson game in particular. So we'll see where it takes us. We'll see where the comment section takes us. They always like to take us down a rabbit hole or two at any point in time in a live show. So we look forward to that. That's always much appreciated. We got plenty to talk about, man. The transfer portal is absolutely blowing up. It's absolutely insane. Everybody seems to have an opinion about the transfer portal in college football, Jordan Bowman. And I'm sure me and yourself are not any different. We both have opinions on the transfer portal. So I guess let's start there. Before we get into what Clemson players have transferred or have declared or have entered the portal, I should say, and what players haven't or what players we are going to look for maybe Clemson to target in the portal, let's just talk about overall college football right now and where the transfer portal is. How do you feel about what the transfer portal is right now? Would you change anything about it, or you think anything needs to be changed about it? What's your opinion on the transfer portal?
Gosh, where to start? Well, first of all,
loaded question, right?
Yeah, it's the reality of college football right now.
Absolutely,
it's going to be a part of it, and I think there's a lot of aspects of it that are good. I mean, I've always been an advocate for players being able to leave and transfer without the one-time transfer rule. I still don't like that rule. I never liked that rule, and I'm glad it's gone. A lot has been done, and to kind of change the way that players have agency and all that, and being able to leave. So I think there's a lot of aspects of the transfer portal that are really, really good. However, it does make things very, very chaotic. Especially in the early days. I'm glad they've consolidated a little bit and given transfer windows because it's a lot for a a college coach to have to, manage, 20 their roster 24/7, 365, and knowing that a guy could just up and enter the portal at any point. So I kind of consolidating it to transfer windows was a good idea. It does, however, mean that things are going to be really chaotic for, the next, 45 days or so. As the window, opens and closes and all these guys are entering in at once. So that's just kind of the reality of where we're at. But at the end of the day, it's like I said, it's the reality of college football. And there are a lot of things I don't like about it. I wish there was more to be done for players that enter and then can't find a spot. Because there's a lot of that going on, and I'm sure you could do a whole research paper on how many guys have entered the portal and guys that come out without a spot or finding a scholarship or anything like that. So it's always tough.
I can't imagine getting to the point where these dudes work hard. Getting to the point where you've earned a scholarship, and then you go to transfer, and suddenly you're out of college football. Like you're sitting at home,
right?
Or you're just going to class like us regular people, it's kind of crazy that happens. But I think that's an interesting point because I don't think it's talked about. It is talked about, but probably not enough. And I wonder if some of these kids understand the repercussions. Like when you enter the transfer portal, you just gave up a scholarship. And hopefully you land somewhere and you end up somewhere. I don't think any of us hope any ill will towards anybody transferring per se, but that's a real possibility. And I don't know if everybody really thinks about the repercussions of that. So that's definitely something that could probably be worked on a bit as far as the transfer portal goes. Again, like you, I like it for players that, are just looking for another opportunity. They're not, they're not pouting or anything like that. They've worked hard and, they've just been passed up on the depth chart, whether that be some recruit that came in that kind of passed them up on the depth chart and now they're seeing the writing on the wall, or, they've kind of been right there and this is kind of their last year. So they're going to try to go somewhere else and try to make a name for themselves and try to hit big. I understand it for all that. And I completely agree for it, especially with coaches and leaving and stuff like that. I think, if your coach ups and leaves for another job, you should be able to leave that school as well. That coach recruited you. So I think a lot of that stuff makes sense. But I think, I don't know that anything can be done, but I think people are kind of being disingenuous with some of these players when they kind of poach them from other programs, or not necessarily poach them, not the big name guys, but there's a lot of guys getting lost in the shuffle, I think, and getting left out in the cold with no place to go and no scholarship to fall back on. So I think that's a big thing that I would like to see cleaned up. How that happens, I don't know. But hopefully there's something they can do for that. But like you said, the transfer portal is the transfer portal. This is current college football. So I know there's a lot of traditionalists out there that don't really like the transfer portal. They don't like, not necessarily they don't like name, image, and likeness, but they don't like really where it is right now. Everybody kind of thought, or, a lot of people I think thought name, image, and likeness was just going to be, doing, signing events and selling jerseys and, stuff like that. And it's not really that. It's boosters paying kids to come to school. That's basically what it is. It's pay for play, So which is fine. That's the rules. And that is what it is. I don't think that will, I think there'll be stuff reined in on that in the future, but who does it? I don't know. The NCAA has no power anymore.
Right.
So the NCAA has zero power. So are they going to do it? Probably not. But, this is the world of college football we live in. And I think, as much, a lot of time, for the past few years since the transfer portal has really hit big, Clemson fans have been screaming, right? Dabo needs to dip into the transfer portal. Dabo needs to dip into the transfer portal. He needs to, this is college football and this is how it goes. He needs to get over it. Do you see that coming to an end this year? Do you see Clemson and Dabo finally being like, you know what, this is the year we gotta make it happen?
I do, and for a couple of reasons, and at a couple of positions too. And I will preface this by saying I don't think that Dabo is ever going to be a coach that's going to use the transfer portal as a means to overhaul the roster or a position group or anything like that. That's not his style. The high school recruiting is always going to be the number one thing that Dabo uses to build a program. It's the lifeblood of any program. And high school recruiting is always going to matter, even with the transfer portal. And it should always, I think, any good, successful program that cares about, sustainable success will put emphasis on high school recruiting and not, utilizing the transfer portal and relying on it every single year. But I do think this is the year that Clemson really kind of, dips their toes into the transfer portal and really, gets a couple of difference makers. I think with the guys that Clemson has leaving right now, not a lot of them are starters or like huge losses, but they definitely are. They affect the depth, they affect the numbers, and I think Clemson, and those are needs that aren't necessarily going to be fulfilled by the incoming recruiting class. So, yeah, I think this is the year, if any, especially because you're losing some guys at key positions, not to mention guys that are departing due to graduation in the NFL draft. I don't think it's avoidable this year, and I think this staff realizes that. And it's known that this staff realizes that because they've been in communication, at least with one guy that has been confirmed. So they're clearly out there, testing the waters, talking to guys. There's probably a lot more that haven't been named publicly. I think this is the year Clemson's they're gonna take, they're gonna take a couple of guys, I think, at some key positions, fill in some depth, maybe get a difference maker here or there that they expect to start. And I think that's really all they need to do. I don't think, like I said, I don't think Clemson is going to be one of the teams that, uses the portal, excessively and brings in a heavy transfer class, because that's just not how.
Right?
Yeah, I don't think you need to, and I don't. That's not how the Dabo or this staff operates anyway. And they are loyal to the guys that they recruited out of high school. So, I think this is the year.
I think that's important, right? We do. Obviously, we want to utilize the transfer portal and we want to use it to our advantage, to better Clemson as a program, as a football team. But you can't sustain long-term success, I think, through just a transfer portal, right? It's a way to quickly turn a program. Look at Lincoln Riley at Southern Cal, right? But you can't do that sustainably every year. Then once you do that and flip a program, well, now he's got to go on the recruiting trail and he's got to maintain that talent level through the recruiting trail and recruit through high school recruits, right? So it's not this is how you build a program. You don't build a program through the transfer portal. You can flip a program and you can be ahead of schedule, unlike you used to be able to do in college football, right? It used to be, 3-4 year project to turn a program around, right? Because you had to get a couple recruiting classes in to, change your roster and change your talent level and all that kind of stuff. So, and now that's no longer the case. So you can flip programs a lot quicker, but I don't think it's the main source of maintaining a successful program in college football by any means. And I think your most successful programs, they will continue to build through high school players and recruiting high school players, and then they will cherry pick people that they need in key positions when they lose people to the NFL draft or to transfer or to whatever, and they'll just pick somebody who fits and they'll roll with it like that. Like Alabama's done it quite a few times, right? Georgia's done it. Ohio State does it. LSU's done it. A lot of the big names out there have done it. So I think that's what the transfer portal is for. And to your point, I think you're right. I don't think Clemson has a choice this offseason. They have to use the transfer portal. I mean, we got a pretty big class coming in. We got 23 players committed so far for our.
That's big class by our standards, but by Clemson standards, that's big.
That's huge. Yeah, I mean, I guess some places that's not real big, but for
Yeah.
Clemson, that's a big recruiting class. That's a really big recruiting class for Clemson. But we're still losing more than that this year through graduation, through transfer, and all of the above. So, and like you said, we got some key positions that we need to shore up. Offensive line, wide receiver, maybe a DB, maybe an edge rusher if we can get them. We got some holes from that we need to shore up, whether it be from a depth standpoint or somebody that's really going to come in and contribute. I think both of those things are needs this year. So transfer portal it is. Clemson's going to dive in for the first time, so everybody can stop talking to Dabo about how he hates the transfer portal, because I think we will pull in a few transfers this coming off season, and hopefully it works out for us, right? Hopefully it, there are some key contributors.
Well, and to your point, and before we actually get into the specific guys that transferred, I kind of want to talk about, because it seems like something that's been really ignored. Even some of the, it's been ignored by the national media a lot, and even some Clemson fans. And it's like, it's not like the staff is averse to looking into the portal. I mean, they offered 2 guys at offensive line last offseason, and one of them just won the Outland Trophy. Olu Oluwatimi, the center for Michigan.
Too bad we didn't get him.
Yeah, he transferred from Virginia. And then the other one, Osiris Torrance, at Florida, I think he's the highest graded interior offensive lineman according to PFF. He was all conference player. He's going to be a high draft pick. So,
right.
Clemson offered those 2 out of the portal, didn't get them. It should at least give Clemson fans a little bit of relief that this staff can evaluate talent in the portal and get the right guy. Because if they had gotten even just one of those 2 guys, I mean, they were huge difference makers. So, but it's frustrating because the national narrative is that Dabo just is anti-transfer portal, and that's not true. I mean, he's reluctant. He's more reluctant than most to use it. But he's not averse to the transfer portal, and he understands, and he's said as much, that this is the reality of college football. It's an unavoidable aspect of college football, and so.
And I mean, he's
wanted to air that frustration out.
Yeah, he hasn't minced any word. He doesn't like. I don't think Dabo Swinney likes the transfer portal.
No,
as it's currently constructed. I don't think he's opposed to people transferring, but if you ask Dabo, he wants people to graduate and then transfer, right? Because people will call it coach speak, and maybe it's a little coach speak, but he's been consistent since he's been the coach at Clemson. He thinks degrees are super important, and he thinks once you achieve that degree, you should be able to do whatever you want and move on. I agree. People should be able to leave. I don't dislike it. I'm not 100% on board with Dabo when it comes to that sort of thing, but he's not averse to transfers at all. Same thing with name, image, and likeness. Everybody's typically the national media runs around. Dabo don't want players to get paid and all this stuff. Dabo's kind of the one that came up with "Ship Happens" and told Shipley about it, or somebody he knew came up with it, and he called Shipley, and I don't know. I don't remember exactly how that story went, but why would he be adverse to name, image, and likeness if he gives one of his players an idea for a slogan like that? It's ridiculous stuff like that. Anybody that listens and doesn't just try to clip one little thing and hear what they want to hear knows that that's not the case. He just didn't want name, image, and likeness to become pay for play, which is what it is now.
Yep.
So, but again, that's what college football is. So Clemson is jumping in the game of name, image, and likeness too, with their 2 collectives and the whole 9, building the facility so guys can have the proper tools to go forth and be entrepreneurs and get money as best they can based off of their name and popularity, right? So all good stuff. So I guess we'll jump into some transfer portal stuff, but let's shout out the chat real quick, Jordan. Let's shout out our people in here in the chat.
Let's do it.
We got a lot of our usual suspects in here again. We got Edward. Edward, thanks for joining us. Juice in here. Thanks for joining us, man. John Sarian, always in here. Thanks for joining us again, buddy. RJ Haley, thanks for coming in. Who has transferred out and has Dabo let anyone transfer in? We'll get RJ Haley.
Yeah, we're going to get all into that.
Well, we have 9 people that have currently entered the transfer portal from Clemson, and we are just about to get into every single one of those people, and then we'll talk some possible prospects that Clemson's looking at bringing in. So stay tuned, and we will answer that question throughout this show. Big Mick in the house again. Thanks for stopping by, man. Swint is at linebacker, not D in, so I understand him leaving. Yeah, we'll get into him entering the portal here shortly. Edgar Hodge in here. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you coming in. And I think that's everybody who's kind of. Am I missing anybody?
Victor's in here.
Victor, thanks for joining us. Use the portal, Dabo. He will. Don't worry.
He will.
We're going to tell you some of the people he's going after in this show. If you Huffer Billy, hey, what's up, brother?
Good to see you, man.
Billy? Good to see you, Huffer Billy. Thanks for stopping by. Colt Johnson in here. Nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. All right, so I guess it's time to get into who's transferring, right? I guess the easiest place to start is the most talked about name transferring from Clemson. One DJ Uiagalelei. Big surprise to you, DJ transferring? Big surprise, right?
No.
Nobody saw this coming. It was a complete shock.
Yeah.
I'm baffled. Can't believe DJ would do this to Clemson football after all we've done for. No,
there is okay. There. I've seen a couple, and I know the Twitter is a cesspool, so it's always craziness. But there are some Clemson fans that unironically hold that opinion. Like that DJ is showing no loyalty by transferring.
Right. That's part of the reason.
As fast as he did. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's part of the reason that I kind of did that little. I can't believe he's leaving. How dare he? We stood behind him through 2 terrible seasons, and we, blah blah blah. Whatever, dude. No, I don't feel that way at all. Completely joking. But I have seen, to your point, some people out there just talking crazy. Some saying, I can't believe he's transferring after Dabo stood behind him and all this stuff. And then some people saying, well, he couldn't even stay for the bowl game. Why would he stay for the bowl game? He's got to go learn a new offense. Like, he's got to go. And here's the thing. What I think people need to understand with DJ is he's not going to be the starter anymore. He's not going to sit behind and be QB depth for Clemson.
No,
he has NFL aspirations, and whether people think that's a ridiculous thought in his mind or not, it doesn't change the fact that the guy wants to play in the NFL one day. So the best thing for him to do is to transfer now before the good teams that actually have a shot to be good next year and have productive offenses, before they fill in their QB holes that they're going to go to the transfer portal for. Right? There's a lot of teams out there that are looking for QBs, and if he waited around until after the Orange Bowl, some of those spots could be gone. So I don't think you could fault the guy for jumping in the portal the day after. I think everybody knew the second that Cade went out there and led that touchdown drive and then came out again and led another drive, everybody knew DJ was gone. Everybody knew you had seen DJ's last snap as a Clemson quarterback. Everybody knew that. So for people to come out now and be like, oh, there's no loyalty, come on. The guy deserves another opportunity somewhere else. Clemson's offense, for whatever reason, didn't work for DJ. I'm not going to fault Clemson for that. I'm not going to fault DJ for that. For whatever reason, it didn't work. But I don't think he's a terrible quarterback who can't work anywhere. I think in a certain system, DJ could be very good. And I hope he lands on his feet, and I hope he balls out next year. Unless he plays Clemson. then I hope he throws 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
But that's just that. Other than that, no surprise here, right? DJ enters the portal. Thoughts on DJ? Where do you think he's going to go? Where do you kind of see some available spots for him? Where do you think a good landing spot for him would be?
Well, I mean, there's already been a ton of speculation about places he could go. I mean, the main kind of thinking and train of thought is that he could go somewhere out west, closer to home, in a different offense, likely the Pac-12. So I mean, I've heard Oregon and USC and well, not USC but UCLA, and programs like that. Arizona State with Kenny Dillingham is also one I've heard. I think that would be really interesting. I have a lot of respect for Kenny Dillingham as a quarterbacks coach, and I think maybe he could do something if he were to land him. But I think that's kind of what he ends up doing. I know there's also been some rumors about him possibly being a package deal with his little brother, Mateo, who is a edge rusher in the 2023 class, one of the top prospects in the entire class.
Yeah,
so
I can see that.
I don't know how much legs to those rumors there are, but if that's true, that could be really interesting. Mateo, I think his final schools are USC, Oregon, and Ohio State. I'm really intrigued by that. If DJ ends up at one of those schools, but USC is kind of hard to see because Caleb Williams he still has a year of eligibility.
He's got to come back, right? He was a sophomore.
He's a true sophomore, right? Yeah.
So he's got to come back. So he's not going to USC. You can guarantee that.
Yeah.
I think.
Ohio State is interesting because C.J. Stroud is declaring for the draft. I know Kyle McCord is still there and behind Stroud. I don't know if the Ohio State staff isn't, if the Ohio State staff isn't confident. Yeah, that would suck. That would suck for sure.
I would hate to see because I really do. I want to root for DJ next year. I really do. Wherever he wants to go, I want to root for DJ next year, and I want to see him do well. That would make it super difficult for me to root for his success next year if he goes to Ohio State. I'm just going to throw it out there. Personal reasons there.
I'm with you. And so the other top school for Mateo was Oregon, and I think that one could possibly work. That one would probably make the most sense. I don't believe Bo Nix plans to return another year. I
don't think so. I don't know why he would at this point. Yeah. I don't think he could gain anything by coming back another year.
Right.
He could only lose momentum heading into the draft by coming back next year.
Yeah. So I think that one could make the most sense. And then obviously UCLA has been the name that's been thrown out there. That's not in Mateo's final school, so that would kind of put the rumor to bed that it's him and Mateo or a package deal. But I think, going into, playing for Chip Kelly, I know Dorian Thompson-Robinson he's got to be out of eligibility at this point because that man has been there for like 50 years. Yeah. So that one's there. Then I already mentioned Arizona State. If I could pick where DJ goes, I would send him to Arizona State, but that's because I think Kenny Dillingham could do something.
I think he'd be great there. And it's still over.
You saw what he did with Jordan. Kenny Dillingham was the offensive coordinator at Florida State. You saw Jordan Travis's development while he was there, and now Jordan Travis is and he's coming back, which is next year, which is scary. But Jordan Travis has developed into a really, really good quarterback. So I think if anybody can fix DJ's issues, I think Dillingham has as good a shot as anybody.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I didn't really think too much about them, so that's interesting. I could definitely see him going there. It's still towards the West Coast, which we all know that's where DJ's from. I think he is looking to get closer back to home, I would guess. But I think DJ's main focus should be fit. It should be an offense that he is comfortable running, probably more of a pro-style offense, probably somebody that can get him some protection so he could go through progressions. I think I think he really needs to focus on fit. I could see Oregon being really good for him. UCLA wouldn't be bad either. I think those two will probably be the top two that he's looking at. um, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went to Arizona State. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Wouldn't be surprised to see him go somewhere where his brother's not. I don't think that's necessarily like, DJ seems to kind of make his own decisions when it comes to stuff like that. So, I mean, he seems like that type of guy. I don't know him personally, obviously, but it wouldn't surprise me if he went somewhere else and wasn't tied to his brother at all when it came to his portal recruitment.
Right.
That would not surprise me at all. John Sarian said it was clear. It was also clear DJ knew it was his last game in Orange. The way he hung around and was the last man off the field practically. Yeah, he even did I think a little interview on the field. So, yeah, I think he knew. And I think he enjoyed his time at Clemson. So it's just best for both parties just to move on. I don't think anybody's surprised that DJ entered the transfer portal. I hope he ends up in a good situation. I really do. Hope he ends up in a good situation. But that's really all. I was leaning Oregon, but I don't know if Bo Nix.
I think Oregon would be a good spot for him too.
I was leaning Oregon, but we'll see where he goes. Just don't go to Ohio State, DJ, please. Do me a favor. There's two teams you can't go to. One is Ohio State. The other one is South Carolina.
I don't think it's.
Yeah, no, I didn't. They're not even in the hunt or anything like that. Just those are the two teams you can't go to. DJ needed confidence and leadership skills. Yeah. Yeah. So, anything else on DJ, Jordan? Before we move on to the next guy,
I hope I'm not frozen because everything is frozen on my screen. Can you see me?
I can see you, but you are frozen.
Okay, figures.
I can still hear you though. Can everybody in the chat hear Jordan still?
That's weird.
Yeah, everybody can still hear you.
All right. Well, I think my entire browser froze. So while I fix.
All right, we just lost Jordan. He popped out for a second. So while I wait for him to pop back in, Jordan looks stunned. Yeah, he was super stunned. That was his face when DJ decided to transfer. That was his face. He was super stunned. So I'll just chill with you guys in the chat for a little bit while we wait for Jordan to pop back in, get his browser figured out before we move on to our next transfer that we'll talk about. Huffer Billy gets in, says, I want DJ to have success, a successful and fun life. But I want him to do it not at Clemson, right? Yeah. So let's see. Hunter Goatfro, thanks for stopping in, buddy. David Wood, thanks for stopping in. Jordan looked like me when Clemson ran that trick play on special teams against South Carolina. Yeah, that's how all of us looked when that trick play happened. The infamous catch the ball and huddle up on a kickoff return. Good stuff there. Good stuff. Good choice. According to Dabo, they've had that play for a while. Don't run it again. What's up, Taco Gaming? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for stopping by. Just waiting for Jordan to pop back in, guys. I think he's popping in the back room now. Jordan, you there? Can't hear you. I can see you, but I can't hear you. Are you there, Jordan? We can't hear you if you're talking.
All right, can you hear me now?
There you go. You're back. You're back.
Thanks.
You're back alive, man. Back alive.
Woo.
Back alive.
This is a professional show. We're very professional around here.
Hey, high production around here, fellas. Okay, you won't find this on ESPN, I assure you. High production level. We got producers sitting in the back doing all our graphics for us. We just show up and talk.
Yep.
So we're a high budget show here. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Technical difficulties. But let's move on from DJ. DJ. Who we want to talk about next? Let's see. Sorry. Let's talk about this guy. This guy was a little bit of a surprise for me, Jordan. A little bit of a surprise for me.
Was it?
Yes and no. It didn't surprise me. I guess too much, but I guess I was more wishful that he would decide to stay. But I completely understand. He saw the writing on the wall. Unfortunately for him, he got injured in the Syracuse game. I think was the first time he got injured. Is that when he injured his ankle with the high ankle sprain? Was that the Syracuse game, or was that?
Yeah, earlier? I feel like it was earlier than that because he had already. I think he had been out for a couple of weeks, about a few weeks.
Maybe. Somebody in the chat remind. What game did he injure his? I thought it was Syracuse for whatever
I don't know,
reason.
but I can't remember.
Whatever. But he had the high ankle sprain, right? They did the whole the whole tightrope surgery to kind of tighten up that tendon and try to help him get back and be stronger than ever when he came back. Still, he took a while to get back. He kind of struggled. Wake is what it was. Yep, Wake Forest.
Yeah, I knew it was earlier than Syracuse. I was like, I think he had already because he had been out.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, Wake game. He got injured, had surgery eventually, and then came back. But in that meantime, while he was hurt, no fault to his, right? He got passed up on the depth chart. I think Phil Moffitt came in and cemented himself as the true number 2 back to Will Shipley. And they're kind of a two-headed monster. You got Shipley and Moffitt going off game after game, and they're kind of doing their thing. And I think Kobe Pace, he saw the writing on the wall. I think he deserves an opportunity somewhere else. He's a great back. He's a back that would have started for a lot of teams this season. So I'm not surprised that he entered that transfer portal. So I guess I shouldn't say in the beginning that I was surprised. I was just hoping, for selfish reasons, that he would stay and we could have all this depth in the running back room and have 3 true guys that I think are capable of being number 1 backs at several programs in the country. So what's your take on Kobe Pace? Where you think he's going to end up?
Yeah, he was always on my, especially as we got later in the year. I was like, he was always on my list. I expected to transfer. I don't think he was going to. I know injuries had been an issue and all that, but like you said, he's a very capable back. He could start for a lot of teams in America, and I think just this season did not play out the way that he wanted it to. The staff wanted it to, and obviously a lot of things out of his control. And I think it's just best if he wants to, if he wants to be a feature back. I don't think it's going to be at Clemson.
Yeah, no,
But
definitely not at Clemson.
yeah, he was a guy that I was really high on coming out of high school. Wasn't highly rated. Back when his name was Kobe Pryor, I think he ended up changing his last name. Little 3-star running back from Georgia, but he had some really great high school film. Really liked him. He's very, very balanced and versatile back. So I think going to be some demand for him. He's not a tremendous athlete, but I think he's a smart runner. He's physical enough, and he has good enough speed. And I think he could be a good contributor. Number one for somebody else. So this one didn't surprise me. Sucks to see him go.
Yeah.
If Clemson could keep him, I absolutely 100% would say yeah. But
yeah, it's definitely sucks to lose him. Creates a little bit of a depth issue at the running back position. But I think Clemson will be okay. We just offered, remind me of his name again? That South Carolina kid.
Oh, Jarvis Green.
Yeah. Jarvis Green just offered him in the class. So, I think they, that was in response to kind of him transferring, trying to fill a hole. So hopefully we grab him, and stay pretty healthy in the running back position. I think Kobe Pace played well while he was at Clemson. He just got hurt this year and got passed up on the depth chart. And, I think this is like if I had to pick a position or a situation where the transfer portal just makes sense, this is one of those situations, right? Where at no fault of your own, you go down and you just get passed by another dude, right? And then once that dude cemented himself in that spot like Maffa did, it's really hard to, barring that guy, completely, whiffing and not getting the job done, you're probably not going to climb back up into that second spot, right? So it makes sense. The transfer portal makes sense for guys like Kobe Pace, who can go get another opportunity, which he deserves at another program. And I think he could be a starter and a big contributor for someone else. So shout out to Kobe Pace. Again, hope all these dudes land on their feet and kind of, land in a good situation. We'll stick with the offensive theme. Another one that did not surprise me. EJ Williams. EJ Williams, another transfer for Clemson on the offensive side of the ball. This guy's been injury prone. He had a really explosive freshman season, right? Really balled out. He was kind of being compared to a Justin Ross, come from kind of the same place in Alabama, kind of looks like him, kind of performed like him that freshman year. And then after that, just couldn't stay on the field. And unfortunately, when he has been on the field, he consistently drops footballs, consistently, which is not something you want to be consistent at. You don't want to be consistent at dropping footballs, especially as a wide receiver. And that really became the story of EJ Williams at Clemson. Is it just guy that you can't rely on to make a catch when you need one? And for that reason, he got passed up by several people on the depth chart. And this one really didn't surprise me when he decided to transfer. What'd you think, Jordan?
Yeah, we have the same thoughts. This was another one that was always on my list, especially as the year went on. I was like, it didn't. It seemed like we were seeing him less and less on the field, and when he wasn't making plays. I don't know. And it sucks because he's probably, of the guys that we're going to talk about, I think he's probably the one that I've just been the most disappointed with as far as how his career has played out, just because of how good he looked as a freshman. Especially he came on late in the year. That 2020 season, Clemson had a lot of injuries at the wide receiver room, and he was one of those guys that stepped up and made a lot of plays late in the year. And I thought that, the future was bright for him, and it still could be, but I don't know. Just last year was a struggle for him, staying healthy and
right.
consistently getting on the field. And then this year, it seemed like he kind of lost that confidence. It didn't seem like he played with the same kind of fire. or intensity, the focus. All of it just didn't seem to be there this year. So I think it's probably best for him to transfer at this point. I don't, and maybe get a fresh start. So
Yeah,
I think he has a lot of physical talent.
Yeah, I mean, he's got potential, right? He's got the talent is there. He's just, I don't know, for whatever reason, again, I think he could go somewhere and be a really good wide receiver, right? I don't know that he's a number one guy or anything like that, but I think he could be a key contributor for an offense. Unfortunately, it didn't work at Clemson. I thought he was going to be a dude for Clemson, especially coming off of his freshman season. But like Isaac says, EJ regressed tremendously from his freshman year. He absolutely regressed. His best year was his freshman year by far. Probably due to coaching and QB play, lost all of his confidence. That there may be some truth to some of what you say there, Isaac. So. EJ checked out or something. I thought he was the next big receiver. I think we all thought he could be our next big receiver. It did look like he checked out at a certain point in time. I think because he got passed up so much on the depth chart, he lost his confidence. Even Dabo said it. Was that last year that Dabo was talking about how EJ had lost his confidence coming off of injury, and he just wasn't feeling super confident. I think that was last year.
He might have said it this year too.
He might have said it this year, but I do remember him saying that last year. So I think it was a huge confidence issue with EJ. Hopefully, when he gets to his new landing spot, he can, he can land on his feet and kind of gain some chemistry with whatever quarterback he's going to play with, and kind of move on and hopefully, do better. And kind of revive his career. All right, Jordan, let's move on to our next offensive player. This one surprised me. Dakari Collins. Now, we've known this one for a long time, so this is nothing new to Clemson fans. He made his decision long ago that he was going to transfer out of Clemson and that he was done playing football at Clemson. So it's not like this is news to us or anything like that. But this surprised me when it happened. Did it surprise you?
Yeah, it did. And it kind of similar to EJ Williams last year. He was forced into action due to some injuries, and I thought played really well in some spots, and I thought he was a guy that they had initially planned a redshirt last season and they didn't want him to play early, but he was forced to, and I thought he gave Clemson some valuable minutes when it was desperately needed last year, and I thought that he was going to be able to carry some of that momentum into this year, but when the season started, he wasn't really getting on the field all that much. He wasn't playing a ton of snaps. Which probably speaks more to just how unready he really was, and that he still had a lot of developing to do, and that he was just forced to play. But I think he's a really talented receiver. He's a guy that was, he's really good. He's from the state of Georgia. He did move around. He moved around a lot. He played at a couple of different high schools, but thought he was a really, really good player. And yeah, this one just kind of surprised me because I thought he had a lot of time to work with and had a lot of developing to do, and I thought he would have been a really good player. But I don't want to speculate too much on what his motivations were, but he clearly wasn't happy with his playing time, and that's just kind of the reality of college football. These days,
yeah,
you can't really. Not all these guys are willing to sit for a year or two and really work on their game and get better. If they're not playing early, it's some of them just decide to pull that trigger and hit the transfer portal, and Dakari is one of them. So
unfortunately, I thought he was gonna be a producer for us this year. I really did. Coming off of last year, I know they didn't want him to play, but he was kind of forced into the role, like you said. We had a terrible offense, and he became kind of our second guy next to Bo last year, right? And he really, helped a struggling offense. Now, by any means, like our offense was not good by any means last year, but he was he was one of the bright spots, right, of the 2021 offense. So I was caught by surprise when he decided to transfer. It is what it is. This is kind of those ones where I just shake my head. I wish he would have put his head down and just competed. And I think he could have, done some good things at Clemson. But again, if he doesn't want to be here, then why should he be forced to be here, right?
Right.
Would it be better if he didn't have the option to transfer and he was still bitter and mad about where he was on the depth chart and whatnot? Would that really help us at all? No. So I don't think it's a problem that he can transfer. I think it's better that he can transfer. It's better for him. It's better for Clemson. It gets somebody out of the locker room who doesn't want to be there, obviously. So, no hard feelings to him. I hope he lands on his feet like the rest of these dudes. I'll be rooting for him. I'll be rooting for all of these dudes unless they play Clemson. And then, I hope you have a terrible game that game, and then you can ball out the next game. You just gotta have one terrible game when you play Clemson. That's it. That's my only rule. It's the only time I'll root against you. But other than that, hope these dudes play well. We got DeAndre in here.
We do.
Hey, DeAndre, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Chilling, man. I forgot what time we said we were gonna do it. My son had tryout, so it's all good.
It's all good. Thank you for the super chat, DeAndre. We appreciate it.
We got to support the channel, man.
I saw your super chat in there. For those of you out there, yes, we do have the super chat feature on, so you guys can utilize the super chat feature as well. Also, we got 60 people in here right now, and I think last I looked, we only had 23 likes. Help us out, guys. Go ahead and hit that like button. It helps out on these live videos, okay?
Yeah.
And this
we
is
got
mainly
60 in here. Yeah.
Yeah, this is mainly what we do here. We need at least, we need at least 30 plus likes. At least half of you guys got to like the video. The rest of you probably think we're a bunch of idiots, but that's okay. At least half of you got to like the video, right? Can we get it to 30? But any thoughts on Dakari before we move on, DeAndre?
No, I mean, I think he was a good player. I mean, I really didn't notice him outside of last year. I mean, we was having high expectations for him and Bo.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out like it was supposed to, but
it did not.
There ain't nothing wrong with change, man. We wish the young man good luck. I don't wish no harm on none of these young men. So
not at all. Why would we?
Yeah, so hopefully go on and be successful.
I saw a comment about Will Taylor. Oh, here we go. Rumors Will Taylor is going to baseball because football does not seem to be working out, but we will see. So
I've heard similar.
Let's do an honorable mention for Will Taylor. I think we've all heard this rumor that he's going to go to strictly baseball. I think that was always his primary sport, really. So it wouldn't be a surprise if he decided to focus only on baseball. I mean, I'm sure it's got to be a lot to be a two-sport athlete, especially at a place like Clemson, especially with the academic load that I'm sure he has. I don't know what his major is, but, Dabo Swinney has pretty high standards on his dudes when it comes to academics. So I'm sure balancing, baseball and football and all that. And if you're not getting on the field and you think your future is baseball, I don't think I can fault the guy for, making that decision and focusing on the sport that he thinks can give him the best opportunity at the next level, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. And he really does have like a real, professional, potential at the baseball level. So
yeah,
he was supposed to be drafted, correct?
Yeah. And he decided to go to, and the rule in college is if you go to the draft out of high school, but if you don't and choose to go to college, then you have to stay for 3 years. He decided to stay for 3 years.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I think the NBA should have the same rule because it's rule in college basketball. At least two.
That's.
I'm with
That's
you.
true.
But yeah, if he does do that, that I think that might be best for him. And I'm sure obviously Clemson has a new baseball coach, Eric Backage from Michigan, and that he probably had some influence on that decision as well. And
I'm sure.
A lot of baseball guys don't want their players playing.
I understand.
Sports.
Yeah, I understand. Monty Williams was okay with it, but the new guy might not be okay with it, and that might be part of it. He might be putting pressure on Will Taylor to be like, "Look, man, no offense, but you're going to have to pick one."
DJ Reader did. I mean, there's some guys that have done it for Clemson. Kyle Parker was a two-sport athlete.
Yep.
Baseball and football. DJ Reader was a pitcher. He was a good pitcher too.
Still balling out in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Still balling out.
Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins played basketball. He didn't really play that much on the basketball team, but he was good. He was a good player.
Bateman, thanks for getting in, man. Thanks for joining the show. What's up? How you doing tonight? We're talking about all the Clemson players that have entered the transfer portal so far. I think we've gone through all the offensive ones, right, guys?
Yep.
Am I missing any offensive players that we haven't talked about?
Transferring? Quarterback Billy Wiles.
Oh, Billy Wiles. Here you go. See, I even made a little banner for him. I didn't forget Billy Wiles. You forgot Billy Wiles. No, I'm just kidding. Billy Wiles. Any surprises here, guys? Thoughts on Billy Wiles transferring?
It's I don't know. I don't know what I expected for Billy Wiles. I mean, he's a former walk-on. He was here for quarterback depth.
Right.
He's stuck. He's been here for a couple of years now. Maybe. He thinks he can go get some playing time somewhere else.
Right, and he was always a depth guy, right? He was never going to get on the field, barring David Woods says who?
Yeah,
exactly. He was always a depth
he's
guy.
on the list, so we had to cover him.
I got to talk about him. I'm not going to disrespect Billy Wiles like that, okay? He may be the next Peyton Manning for all we know, okay? Probably not. But we're going to talk about him anyway because he was on Clemson's roster for a couple years, and now he's transferring, okay? But he was always a depth guy, right? He was never going to get on the field barring complete catastrophe in the quarterback room. So it's never really surprising when a dude like this transfers. Maybe he thinks he's developed to a point where he can go get some playing time somewhere. So good on him. I hope he finds that spot for him. Hope he finds that team that's going to give him a shot. And good luck to my man Billy. Shout out Billy. DeAndre, you got any thoughts on Billy?
Nah, but I can't remember who he is. But anyway, but you know what though? I think Isaiah Tucker, when he transferred, I think he had a pretty good career. What's the kid that transferred to Jackson State? Is it Simmons?
Jacksonville State. Zaire. No, I'm sorry, that's not his name. I'm blanking on his name.
Dang. Yeah, but
someone in the chat will say it. I'm just waiting on it. The one that transferred to Jacksonville State had a decent career. Oh, Zarek Cooper.
Yeah.
Zarek Cooper. Yeah, there you go. Goodness.
Don't know why it took me so long to think of that.
You know what,
man? I haven't thought about that dude in forever.
Yeah.
Jeez, Zarek Cooper.
When I saw him play versus Syracuse and they put Hunter Johnson in, I knew Hunter Johnson couldn't play. I know he had a hard time at Northwestern.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? I know y'all already probably talked about DJ, but I was
We did. We led the show with DJ transferring. We got that one out of the way early.
Yeah, but I would say this, and I'm taking up for DJ again. Look at what Troy Aikman left Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I think Watson came in and he had a pretty good Oklahoma career. And Troy Aikman, who I think is overrated, but he went to UCLA, had a pretty good career. Sometimes systems just don't fit people.
Right, and that's we talked about in the beginning of the show, and we said a lot of the same things you're saying. That he needs a different system. It just didn't work. He's not a bad quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Burrows. I mean, Dwayne Haskins started over him, and unfortunately, Dwayne's dead. But Joe Burrow looked like he was on a better uptake than he was.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Ghost says Clemson is missing wide receivers, elite wide receivers like the pass. Thinks the defense and offensive line are better than pass. I don't know about defensive line being better than in the past. I don't know about that, but offensive line definitely.
It's comparable.
But
yeah,
it's comparable. I wouldn't say it's better, but our offensive line is certainly better than it used to be. We're recruiting at a higher level. We're hitting at a much higher level than we used to, and we got some dudes out there that are.
Let me ask y'all a question.
That are helping.
I'm worried about the size of my linebackers next year. I went back and watched the Carolina game, and number 17 played a lot of the free safety middle of the field, but I know he's
my boy Woodass.
Yeah,
yeah,
and he was great, but I wonder about how's that gonna shape up for next year? And his linebacker a place that we're gonna be looking for. I know defensive line and quarterback and receiver are three that we're looking at for the transport portal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what the transfer portal brings. We'll get into that. Let's get through the rest of our players that are transferring, and then we'll get into a little bit of talk about who we think Clemson should be targeting and then what some rumors out there are, right? So we'll start over on the defensive side. We got Fred Davis. Any surprises here, guys, that
No.
Fred Davis transferred?
No.
Me neither. This guy went MIA at the end of the season, right? He could, those of you, everybody on here, I'm assuming, follows Clemson football pretty closely, are Clemson fans. And even with the injuries that we started sustaining in the back end of our defense, Fred Davis still couldn't see the field. So I think the writing was on the wall. I knew he was going to transfer. I think there's some off the field issues there. I don't want to speculate too much about it.
There is, but yeah,
I don't know what they are. I don't, I don't want to, say he's a bad guy or anything like that. I'm not trying to say that at all. But there's clearly some off the field issues because I don't think health was the reason that he wasn't on the field. And that speaks volumes because we could have used him at certain points in time this season when we had some people going down. So I'll let you guys take it away on Fred Davis.
After the Wake Forest game, I saw he just didn't play. And Dabo was unhappy with him doing that game. I know he was a 4-star.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Dabo really wasn't happy with him.
Yeah. And he was already, I mean, everybody knows the stuff that happened in the offseason. He did the car accident he was in where he
with a male lady,
where he almost killed a male lady.
Yes.
And served a lengthy, internal punishment. We don't really know the details behind that. So he was already in the doghouse.
Right. He's been in the Sweeney doghouse for a little while now.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever really got out of it.
Yeah. No. So he's this was something that kind of was it was kind of put in motion from that moment. And he hasn't, when he did play this year, he did not play very well. And then, just half the year, you hardly saw him. This was kind of, I think he's a talented player. I'm sure. I mean, obviously his recruiting ranking would suggest as much, and he never really got to show it that much at Clemson. But I think this is probably what's best. It's probably good for him to just get a fresh start. So yeah, this one didn't really surprise me.
Didn't surprise me.
I don't really have too many other thoughts on it.
See some people in the chat saying Davis got cooked at the Wake Forest game. Yeah, he did, but so did Nate Wiggins. And look how those two guys responded.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Look how those two look at those two different responses. One guy, I'm not in the program, so I can only assume. But one guy probably did not like the challenge that he received from the coaching staff, and one guy took the challenge on the chin as a true competitor and was like, you know what? I need to get better. I need to do this and that different in order to be a better player. And look at Nate Wiggins at the end of the season. The dude's an absolute baller in our secondary. Not saying he doesn't make mistakes. Of course he does. But, I mean, did you see the guy in the ACC championship game? I mean, he had several pass breakups in the end zone in critical situations to keep North Carolina from scoring in the red zone. So that's just the tale of two guys, right? One guy took the challenge on the chin and was like, you know what? They challenged me, and I'm going to rise to the occasion. And the other guy, not so much. So for whatever reason, it didn't work out for our boy Fred Davis. Hope he ends up in a good situation, lands on his feet. All right, next up, we got a linebacker, Vonta Bentley. What do you guys think about this transfer? Vonta Bentley transferring out. Think he just got passed up on the depth chart, right, guys?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what happened. He's a guy that I was really high on, while he had been here, but he really was never able to carve out consistent playing time. He was never really able to assert himself as the starter. And when he did get out, I don't think he played his best at times this year. Felt like he was lost at times, and he didn't always fill his run lanes. He was, I don't think he covers very well. He's very limited in that aspect, and I don't know. He just wasn't able to be out there consistently. I think he probably just needs a change of scenery because I mean, obviously he's not going to pass up Carter or Trotter, who are coming back next year. So but I think he's very physical. He's very he likes to hit. I think he tackles well. I think he'll definitely find a nice landing spot because I think he is a good player. So and this does hurt the linebacker depth a little bit, but other than that, this one didn't necessarily surprise me per se. Thought it was a possibility. Thought there was a chance he would stick it out too, but ultimately he decided to enter.
I'm not surprised, but honestly, I didn't think he was going to transfer. But when I saw his name again, like I wasn't like, oh man, I can't believe that happened. But I did think he would stick it out. He does get, I mean, it's minimal playing time. I'm not going to lie, but I think he got some good playing time last season. He just got passed up on the depth chart by way more talented people this season. Didn't get nearly as much playing time and probably didn't play his best when he was out there. But he can play. He can play. So wish him the best out there. Hope he lands somewhere on his feet. DeAndre, you got any thoughts on our boy Bentley?
If he played in the 1980s, he would have been perfect for Clemson.
That is a good point. He would be a damn good Danny Ford linebacker, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he was a secret type guy, but with the game evolving and you got to be able to move, that's why I thought he wasn't playing because he wasn't able to move. He had just a big guy. I mean, if it was the 80s, man, he would have been killing them running backs, but unfortunately, it's not. I think he'll be doing better at a lower level school where they still run the triple options and stuff, where he could get out there and thump somebody. If he was able to make the NFL, he'd probably be like a special teams guy. I mean, he can't play linebacker on the big time level because that's the way he's built, and he's not fluid with his movement. So, yeah, but I think he's a nice player, though.
Yep. All right. Let's move right along to maybe one. I don't know if it well, let's go. Let's stick with linebacker. Okay. We'll go Sergio Allen.
Yeah.
What's your guys' thought on this one?
Yeah, another guy. This one didn't surprise me at all, and this is one we've known for a while. He like Dakari. He
another
he
one
left the team early in the year.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, this one didn't surprise me. Another highly rated guy, 4-star coming out of high school. I think he was a top 100 kid. If I might be wrong about that, but I think he was. But just never really was able to carve out. Yeah, he wasn't able to carve out as much playing time as Bentley did. So, but he was a good. He was depth, and this one makes a lot of sense for him. I think it was probably best. Probably best for him to transfer because I think he'd get some playing time elsewhere. But so this one didn't really surprise me that much. And obviously this is one we've known for a while.
Yeah, we've known for a while, just like Dakari Collins. It's kind of one of those things you just get passed up on the depth chart. He knew he was never going to get any real playing time at Clemson, barring, again, catastrophic injury at the linebacker position. So he's going to move on and try to get an opportunity elsewhere, and you can't really blame the guy. DeAndre, you got any landing spots for our boy Sergio Allen?
Man, I don't know nothing about the guy. I still been lying and pretend. I heard of the name, but I never saw him getting in the game.
Yeah,
but not. I don't think he didn't
bit.
play as much as Bentley did. So,
a little bit.
I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't think he was able to.
He couldn't crack the rotation at Clemson at all.
Yeah.
So, sorry, guys. All right. This is comment. Yep. At least Clemson hasn't had anybody piss on Dabo on their way out.
like Dylan Johnson. Yeah, I saw that.
To Leach. Yeah, that was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was
absolutely insane. But that's not typically seen. I don't know that we've had any player leave Clemson that really came out and dumped on Dabo or trashed Dabo or trashed Clemson as a program at all.
Trap did.
Who?
The quarter, his dad was really good in the 90s. TRAPP, he kind of bashed him.
Oh, did he? Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, that must have been a while ago.
I remember he was the one that said Dabo lying about coaches using the N-word.
Are you talking? Amir. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And the whole Greenlee and situation. Okay, I remember now.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. All right, that took me a second. Chad Kelly, did he? Well, Chad. Someone mentioned Chad Kelly. He left because. Things he did.
Chad Kelly. First of all, Chad Kelly's a full-on clown. Look what he did in the NFL. Chad Kelly's never been anywhere where he hasn't caused problems and been a complete clown. Yeah, you're right. I don't know how he slipped through the cracks and got recruited by Clemson. They didn't do their homework on that guy, apparently. I don't know.
I mean, he was you saw what he's not. It's not like he was a bad player. You saw what he did at Ole Miss. He was a good.
He's a good player, but
yeah, he's
because he's a good player. Like he's got some character issues. Man.
Yeah,
that dude is wild.
Chad Kelly was kicked off the team for things he did. So I mean, if he wants to talk bad about Dabo, it's not. There's no.
Go ahead.
I mean, you just look at his track record. But
yeah,
it is what it is.
He had problems. He had problems before Clemson. He had problems after Clemson. So, believe me, the common denominator is Chad Kelly.
Yeah,
he just causes problems wherever he went. He caused problems. Didn't he get arrested for being like drunk in somebody's house?
I didn't even keep up. I don't know. But
I think we're on to our last guy, guys.
I think we are.
I think we're on to our last guy. Our boy Kevin Swint decided to enter the transfer portal. Little bit of a surprise to me. I did not see him transferring. I thought he was going to be a key contributor coming back next season. Yes, did he get much playing time this year? Not really. But at the same time, with the people that Clemson could potentially lose, he looked to play a key role next year, right? He looked to be one of the guys that were either a starter or at least in the rotation that Clemson tends to do on the defensive line. We rotate a lot of guys in, right? So whether you're first to run out there or second, doesn't really matter. You're going to get a lot of playing time. So a little bit of surprise here for me. that he decided to transfer. What are your guys' thoughts on Kevin Swint and his transfer?
I thought he would have transferred last year. The
Really?
reason because some of those guys came back unexpectedly. So I thought he would have transferred last year. Him and the kid out of Florida. But I think when they redshirt him, and then this was his redshirt freshman year. So I thought he would have transferred last year. But
Yeah.
as he played early, I know he played in the Georgia Tech game, but through the rest of the year, I didn't see him get in the game. So but,
Yeah. Yeah,
Jordan, what's your thoughts on Swint?
This one surprised me a little bit. I did think he was going to, because I thought he had a really good shot of being a starter next year. From what I've heard some different things that he wants to play linebacker. Thinks that's he's a better fit there. But yeah, this one's kind of disappointing because I thought when he was in the game, I thought he looked really good. He made some really nice plays, and I thought he flashed a lot when he was on the field. I was pleasantly surprised because I didn't really expect him to be much of a contributor this year, and he played a good amount, and I thought he played well in a lot of spots. So this one hurts a little bit. I think this one is probably the most impactful as far as for next year. We'll have conversations about it, but I think edge is definitely a position of concern. I wouldn't say concern, but it's a question mark at that position for next year. I know some people in the chat have already mentioned that maybe he's him leaving is a sign that some guys are coming back, possibly. Obviously, Xavier Thomas has he has the option to come back. Justin Mascall, I think, has another year of eligibility. We don't know, but I don't know. We'll see.
Indication that we're gonna play more 3-3-5 next year, like we did against Carolina. I think that with the speed at linebackers and the experience is going to be at the secondary level. I think that's also a sign that we might move to that type of defense next year because I think it really fit really good because number 17, not saying like the guy at Arizona, seemed like he fitted it very well. And look how he cut out Carolina in the info area when they got down there. So I think that might be an option too. Because you're able to do a little bit more than instead of being 4-3 or the 4-2-5. I think that might be a reason too. Because I think that's what hurt Xavier Thomas his sophomore year, that he wasn't meant to play the 3-3-5 defense. So I think that's what we're gonna see next year.
Possibly.
Absolutely. Hey, we got 70 people in the live chat right now. Hey guys, go ahead and hit that like button for us. Help us out. We would really appreciate it. WB2XD, thanks for stopping in, man. One of our regulars there. Is it portal time? It's absolutely portal time, man. We are definitely going into the portal this off season or this portal season or recruiting season or whatever season you want to call it. I don't know. It all runs together. December is a crazy time to be a college football fan. You got recruiting, you got transfers, you got bowl games, you got playoffs, you got, all sorts of stuff, right? Going on. So it's a crazy time to be alive, but it's a great time because that means we got a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to college football. And that's what we like to do here, right? We like to talk college football. So with that said, I think we already stated in the beginning of the show, Jordan, that we thought this would be Clemson's year to dip their toes or reach into the transfer portal and pluck somebody out. And Dabo can get the monkey off his back and finally get a real transfer in, right? We kind of think there's some holes on the team, and we're not going to fill them through high school recruiting this year. We already got 23 commits so far. We may pick up a couple more, but we still have a net loss, right? So, Jordan, DeAndre, I will give the floor to you guys. Where would you like to see Clemson focus as far as position group first? So kind of rank the position groups that you would go after. And then we will go back and talk some guys that we're looking at for those particular position groups. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a couple of different positions that Clemson could definitely use, stand to grab a guy or two from the transfer portal. I guess the first priority I would say would probably be, I think you should take a corner, and I think you can stand to take a corner, especially with Fred Davis transferring out. We don't know. Sheridan Jones accepted a Senior Bowl invite, so I don't know if that necessarily means he's leaving, but usually when guys do that, they don't plan to come back. So you're losing a couple of guys in the secondary. You don't really have a lot of numbers there.
Right.
Obviously, Malcolm Green is in. He'll probably be back next year, but he'll be coming off of injury. So I think you could stand to go and get a guy, get a corner that can play right away. There's a guy that Clemson is already talking to. We'll talk about him a little bit later.
Yes. I hope we land him. I hope we land him.
I hope so. And so I think that's a position you need to look at. And second, I think you need to get a wide receiver. I think you could stand to get, and it needs to be a difference maker. I don't think you just get a guy. Well, I don't think you're going to get a guy for depth anyway, because a lot of wide receivers that enter the transfer portal are looking to be a key contributor. So
yeah,
I think you can stand to, and I think there's some talented options that Clemson could possibly pull, even a couple with some previous Clemson connect. So
there you go.
I think so cornerback, wide receiver, and then I think you could stand to. I think Clemson wants to take an offensive lineman. I expect them to take an offensive lineman in the portal. They wanted to take one in this recruiting class, but with Spencer Furneaux, the offensive lineman from I think he's from Utah. He's from out west. He's one of those, but he committed to Utah over Clemson, so didn't end up getting him. So I think this is a spot where Clemson looks to add a experienced piece from the transfer portal. So yeah, I think those are the guys, and then defensive end also as well. I already mentioned. I think you need especially with Swint leaving, and depending on, and I guess that one kind of depends on who comes back, because if Thomas and they might not take a defensive end.
We'll talk about kind of that piece too.
So what did I say? Cornerback, wide receiver, offensive lineman, and defensive end. Preferably an interior guy.
Interior offensive lineman. Yeah. A lot of good ones out there, by the way. A lot of good ones out there. So
maybe you take I don't know. Maybe you take an offensive tackle, because I know that Tristan Lay kind of they think he's going to be the next guy up. I don't know. It depends on what they decide to do, because we cross train guys. I know some people think.
I think you take
that Marcus Tate moves to left tackle.
Right. I think if I was them, I would take the best offensive lineman, period, that you could get. Right. And then like I said, we do. That's. Clemson does all cross training across the offensive line. So I think best available would be the most or the best way to go there. DeAndre, where would you go if you were Clemson in the transfer portal? What position groups would you look at first, and kind of rank your position groups? What do you think Clemson's needs are?
I just got two: quarterback and defensive.
Okay.
Would like for us to go after the defensive end from Indiana.
I think he already committed to OU.
OU, okay.
Yeah. He's already committed to OU. But I have my eye on that guy too. Probably wishful thinking, but he's going to play for Brent Venables over there in OU.
You think Clemson needs to get a transfer quarterback?
Well, I mean, the guy coming in, he's only a freshman, and K gets hurt. I mean, what else you gonna do?
Maybe. I mean, but who do you think? Because the thing about the quarterback position is you're not really going to convince a guy to come and just be a backup. So like,
Yeah,
who do you think you get? I mean, Hunter Johnson was a special case. It's
Okay.
not.
The guy from Mississippi State behind Watson. Did he play in the NFL for a little bit? I can't remember his name. The one that transferred from Mississippi State, he was behind Deshaun Watson. I think he played in the NFL for a little bit. I just think you need a little depth there. Senior leadership. He was a white kid. He came out of Mississippi State. You don't remember him?
Was it Nick Starkle? I'm trying to think. I don't.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
But,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think we need some backup help at quarterback.
Well, I mean, we got a quarterback coming in, right?
Yeah, Vizina. Well, and that's the thing. I don't think it's really that big of a deal.
We got Vizina coming in, Hunter Helms,
and you still have Hunter Helms.
Hunter Helms seems to be staying.
But he's holding the clipboard. Somebody can't hold the clipboard while he can't throw the ball while he's holding the clipboard, man. I mean,
well, I don't think we're planning on anybody playing next year except for Cade. So hopefully that's the case. But I understand you do have to have depth. So
yeah, but I think Vizina is. I don't know. I think the staff is high enough on Vizina that they're comfortable with him being the backup. I mean, if you've seen Christopher Vizina's tape and look at him, he's very physically impressive, and he was one of the best performers at the Elite 11. He's had he's.
Is he going to be an early enrollee?
Yeah, he will be.
Okay, yeah, so he'll get a head start on it. Hopefully he pans out. Big Mick says Will Taylor. He did train at the quarterback position.
I think you keep. I mean, if he's still on the team next year, he's an emergency quarterback. I don't think.
Right. No. I'm talking like a Hunter Renfrow type deal, right? Hunter Renfrow was an emergency quarterback, right? He's a receiver, and so will Will Taylor. But that's still depth in case if all else fails and you have nobody else. He was trained as a Clemson quarterback. He did do that for his first season at Clemson. So,
excuse me, and I'm gonna go down a weird way. Y'all gonna laugh at me, but there go punter. Can we get a punter, please?
I don't.
Punter.
What punter are you going to get out of the transfer portal?
You ain't gonna get no punter. I don't know,
but we need to get somebody. He can't be kicking 23, 24 yards. Well, I don't know. We might need to go get somebody.
I don't know. I people are making a big deal about this punting situation. I'm not really concerned about it at all. I think Swanson is gonna be a good one. When you just have to give him time. I mean, people wanted to crucify BT Potter. I know it's a different position, but when BT Potter first got to Clemson, he was terrible. You gotta get. John mentions DJ coming back as a punter. Hey, let's get crazy. But
let's make it happen.
But listen, I don't think the punting situation is as bad or as concerning as some other Clemson fans. I think you'll be okay, and I think Biden will be a lot better with another year of another off season of training, and he's going to get better. He was highly rated for a reason. He has a leg. It's got to be.
He's inconsistent. He just has to be
more consistent. But he's going to build it. I
think
it'll be okay.
When he hits it well, he hits it well. But I do see what people are talking about, and I've talked about it. Me and Jordan kind of disagree on the punting situation. I'm not super high on Swanson. He thinks he's going to be fine, and he probably will be. He was a highly rated kicker. He does have a leg, but he is super inconsistent. So let's hope he can get some of that figured out over the offseason.
James Thompson makes it. James makes the best point. He says if Clemson, gets back to a regular offense, then they won't need to punt. So
that's so true. When's the last time we were talking about punting as an important piece of the Clemson as a Clemson offense?
The spring game, right? P. Potter was being pushed to be the starter.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think he can improve. John Smith said we should hold tryouts at Bowman Field. we'll see.
If you want to go get somebody off the soccer team, go by all means. I mean, we have a good soccer team, so don't
I mean,
don't get me wrong,
they're a national championship soccer team, so
yeah.
you can get somebody there to push Swanson.
If you're, I really don't, but I don't think the punting situation. It wasn't great this year, but I think he'll be fine.
I thought I might have to go how to put. I know what's the dude doing with that. Yeah, you're right. But I know he was the number one punter coming out of high school, but still, sometimes you just sit there like, oh my God, what the hell is he doing? But
I think people should be more concerned. I honestly think people should be more concerned about kicker next year.
Well,
I know
that's
what
I was
Robert
going.
Gunn, but we're starting. I mean, just anytime you're starting a brand new guy at that position.
That's what I was gonna talk about next, man. We're losing BT Potter. I mean, that's basically like a sure field goal every time the dude steps on the field. Like we don't even think about it, right? It's like, oh yeah, BT will make it.
But people forget he had to develop into that, which is why I'm not as like knee jerk when it comes to specialists. The hard. I mean, people think it's like it's like all you do is kick. It takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, a lot of reps.
Because BT always had the leg, right? But he never had the consistency, and you can remember
he had to hone that technique.
In BT's first year, like he was downright bad sometimes. It was crazy. So yes, BT Potter was not always the BT Potter that we think of now. So in that line of thinking, maybe Swanson can do the same thing. Hopefully Gunn is up to the challenge. He's got some big shoes to fill. Hopefully he can handle the pressure because now that we've had BT, that's what he's going to be expected to do. So we got spoiled with BT Potter. He just casually trots out in the ACC championship games and sets a record for a field goal. So no big deal. BT out there doing the Lord's work. If you're in the chat right now, go ahead and hit that like button for us. Helps us out on the live videos. Appreciate you guys for stopping by. Appreciate you guys getting into the chat section. See you guys in there arguing with each other about this, that, and the other. All good stuff. We like to see
it.
We like to see you guys go at each other. It's fun to see. It's awesome to see. Talked about where we should go in the transfer portal, right? I agree with a lot of what you said, Jordan. I think we should go wide receiver. We need some speed, right? Offensive line, I think we could take an offensive lineman for sure. Cornerback, there's one specific one I have in mind that I would really like to see Clemson get. I hope we get him. We'll mention him here in a minute. I'll let you mention him, by the way. I know we're thinking of the same guy. I think edge rusher, a lot of the top guys are already gone, already committed to other places. But with
more can enter, though.
More can enter. It's a fluid situation, but I tend to be, and you can, you guys can give your opinion on this. I tend to be of the thought process that he is transferring because he knows something that we all don't know, like someone is quite possibly coming back that he would not play in front of. So I'm going to hold out hope that we're getting some of our defensive linemen back, that they're going to run it back one more time, and let's do this thing again. But who knows? We'll see. But you guys mentioned your positions that you would like to see Clemson go after in the transfer portal. So what are some guys to fill those positions that you would like to see Clemson go after? Let's talk some names in the transfer portal.
All right. First of all, let's start with wide receiver because that's kind of the position group I really want Clemson to go and get somebody at. I think there's a couple of different names and keep in mind, guys, that I have no insider knowledge about who Clemson is looking at for the most part.
I have a good night. All right, I gotta run. Y'all have a good night.
All right, DeAndre. See you later, brother. Thanks for stopping by.
All right. But yeah, I have no insider knowledge. These names, not all of these names are guys that Clemson is necessarily in communication with or they're considering offering. These are just my personal guys I think they could stand to go after. And at the wide receiver position, there's two guys that I really like. One is Dominic Lovett. A lot of people probably are familiar with him, wide receiver from Missouri. Was their leading receiver. He's a very tough guy to cover. Really good route runner. Has really good hands. I think he could be an instant contributor in this wide receiver room. And I think he's a guy that Clemson should talk to. Also, wide receiver Grant DeBose from Charlotte. He recently entered the portal. Really fast, speedy guy. I think he's another guy that. And also Jimmy Horn, who has a Clemson connection, with Jeff Scott having been from South. I think he's a very talented wide receiver. I think he would add a lot of speed to the position as well. So those are a few guys that I really like at that position. And keep in mind, I will reiterate one more time, these are not guys that Clemson is necessarily talking to or they're looking at. So don't go saying that I said that Clemson is getting these guys, but I think those are guys that would
you heard really, it here first. Breaking news from the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. Jordan Bowman, the Clemson insider.
And I just realized this header is not this little tag is not going to help either because I'm talking about these names and it says who will Clemson target and not who should Clemson target. So now, man, when they clip it.
Hey, look, Jordan, I'm just setting you up for success, okay, brother? I got you. Don't worry. We're gonna make you an insider, okay?
I appreciate it.
We'll fake it till we make it, okay? We'll fake it till we make it.
I love it. But yeah, those are a few guys. I'm not even necessarily sure that Clemson is going to go and get somebody at wide receiver, but I think. I tend to think they will, maybe at least one, just because of the numbers. And I think the staff knows behind closed doors that this room is not as talented as it's been in years past, and they could stand to upgrade at that position. One different, maybe even if they go and get one guy that can be a difference maker, because I really don't think Clemson right now has a true number one. Obviously, Antonio Williams has been phenomenal in the slot. He's easily been their best receiver, but they don't really have enough to see elsewhere. But we'll see. I don't know. Want me to talk about the other positions?
Yeah, go ahead.
You want to talk about cornerback? Because
okay,
let's go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
we'll go ahead and address cornerback because that's the one that.
Let's talk about cornerback. This is a guy that I'm sure everybody's heard of. I'm sure everybody kind of knows who he is. Hold on one second. I'm trying to pull him up. Cypress from Virginia. Okay. Central Cypress. Excuse me. A guy that absolutely is a player in the secondary. He's a guy that has really played well. Looking to transfer out of Virginia, so there's kind of that connection with Clemson there, right? You got Tony Elliott, the head coach of Virginia. Obviously, Dabo Swinney and the rest of the Clemson coaching staff has relationships with him. So I think that can make the transition easier if Cypress is interested in Clemson, which I hope he is. I think we could use some help in the Clemson secondary, as we saw this season, right? We are not shored up in the secondary whatsoever, and I think a guy like Cypress could bring a lot to the Clemson defense. With a guy like Nate Wiggins developing and getting better like he is, maybe a guy like Malcolm Green coming back next year. I think the addition of a guy like Cypress could really, really shore up that Clemson defense and really make us, kind of one of the better passing defenses that we've had. What are your thoughts? I know you really want Clemson to target Fentrell Cypress. I'm sure you got some insider information for us. You know, no, I'm just kidding. But your thoughts on Cypress. I know we had the same thoughts when we talked about secondary before we hopped on the live show tonight. That's both our number one guy. So let the people know.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Fentrell Cypress, I mean, I think he checks a lot of the bugs that Dabo has mentioned in the past that he looks for in a transfer. He's a multi-year starter. He was all conference. I believe he was second team all ACC this year. One of the highest graded corners in the entire conference last year. Looks really good on tape. He's not like a speedster, but I think he plays with really good technique. He plays mostly on the field side, so they clearly trust him in open space to cover teams' better wide receivers. So I thought he played really well in that spot. He's got nice length. I think he plays the ball really well, and I think he's a guy that's really experienced and polished, and someone that Clemson could definitely use in that room. I think he would be an instant contributor, probably starter. So I really like his tape. Obviously, he's the number one corner in the transfer portal for a reason. Clemson is not the only guy. The only program interested in him. He's heard from other programs. I know he's heard from Ohio State. I think he's heard from Deion Sanders in Colorado.
Of course.
That's going to be a recurring thing. That's going to be really weird. And Clemson
how weird is it? How weird is it going to be for some of these bigger programs like Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, name whoever you want. Some of these bigger programs to suddenly be recruiting against Colorado. That's probably something we thought we would never say.
Right.
When's the last time Colorado even had a 4-star, much less a 5-star? I don't know. Somebody out there could probably look that up, but I would venture to say it's been a while since they've had somebody as talented as Cypress on their roster. So, not saying he wouldn't go there. Not saying that at all. I mean, you think about it. His position, being coached by Deion Sanders, wouldn't exactly be a shocking thing to happen. But I hope Clemson goes after him. I hope they land him. Like you said, I think he could really bring something to the Clemson defense because we could use some help in the secondary.
Dang, they are getting spicy in the chat right now. They are, guys. Okay, if you guys are gonna debate, please stay respectful. I don't want to have to start timing people out. We're not going to be attacking each other personally and all that. Just
right. Let's keep it respectful in the chat. Everybody's got their opinions. We all know college football is a trash talking sport. It's a sport where people are very passionate. But keep it about football. We can argue about football all day. Don't make any personal attacks, guys. It's not that serious. We love college football, but try to clean it up in there, guys. For us, clean it up in there. We don't want to time anybody out or anything like that. That's not something that we typically do here. So, but let's talk about another position you mentioned. You mentioned that we could go after an offensive lineman, right? You got anybody in mind?
That's the position that's a little murky. Because some of the guys have committed already.
Right.
It's
some of the top.
That one's going to be interesting, and the ones that have entered are, I think they're good, but some of them are not leaving necessarily for the right reasons.
Right.
I know there's a couple of Alabama offensive linemen that have entered the portal.
There's like quite a few, like 3 or 4 Alabama offensive linemen that have entered the portal.
Most notably, I believe his name is Javion Cohen. Let me see.
Javion Cohen. Yep.
Javion Cohen.
I think he's ranked number 1 for interior offensive linemen in the portal right now. So big name out there. Sure, there's a lot of people going after him. I'm sure he's leaving because of playing time.
From what I understand, he wasn't a starter by the end of the year. He started at the beginning of the year and wasn't a starter by the end. So, who else? Miles Hinton from Stanford. That one's interesting. Offensive tackle. Could be someone. I don't know if Clemson does, go look for an offensive lineman in the portal.
Yeah,
that's an interesting. He comes from a good school, good program.
Damian George from Alabama.
Seems like he has crystal balls to. If that's his maybe that's his transfer. No, that's his high school. So no indication where he's going yet. But class of 2020, highly rated kid coming out. So that's another guy you could look at. Could possibly be a contributor. But I do think, that Clemson needs to probably. I know that Clemson wants to get an extra lineman.
WB2DX says, is Jeff Scott in the portal? I don't think Jeff Scott's in the portal. I think Jeff Scott's trying to chill out, man. I think he is going to take the money that he has made. And if I had to predict, I think Jeff Scott's just going to take a year off from coaching. Honestly, I think he's probably just going to take a year off and kind of see where he's at after that. Or maybe, I don't. If he goes anywhere, I don't think it'll be a decision anytime soon.
Right.
I think he's going to chill out for a little bit. It's just my opinion, but I could be wrong. Who knows? Who knows what Clemson's got cooking? But a lot of stuff out there in the transfer portal, Jordan, man. Tons of stuff in the transfer portal. Clemson's got 9 people leaving the program, some of which we already knew, some of which that are new but not surprising, and then maybe a couple that are a little bit surprising. Peter Woods is also locked in with Clemson. Yeah. We got Peter Woods coming in. So that's a guy that could potentially be a contributor early on. Speaking
of which, he had a really great he was at the Alabama Mississippi All-Star game. From what I read, he was dominating in drills and practices, and he had a really great session. So really excited to get him on campus. He's obviously, I think he's, one of the best defensive linemen in the country. I think he's one of the better, wins and recruiting wins in Dabo's tenure. This was a guy that was, he grew up in Alabama. He's from Alabama. He grew up an Alabama fan. He visited him so many times throughout his high school recruitment.
Right.
He has a really good personal relationship with a lot of the guys on that staff and in Alabama's current recruiting class, and you were able to land them. So, and these are really, really special talent. So I am really excited to see him be on campus, and really interested to see how much of a role he carves out for himself as a freshman, because I think he's that good that he could see significant playing time. So we'll see.
Absolutely. We shall see.
You want to talk? Where do you want to go next? You want to talk about you want to address some comments?
Yeah. We can go to the comments. No, I don't have anything else. I think we've talked as much about the transfer portal as we possibly could at this point. Everybody knows kind of who we think we should target. Everybody knows, who's transferring out of Clemson and kind of our thoughts on it. So let's move on to the comments section, see what they got, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap the show up here in a few minutes.
All right, sounds good. Let's do it. Guys, leave your any questions, comments.
Yeah, so if you got any questions, go ahead and get them in the comment section now. Or if you have any comments or anything that you would like us to touch on before we get out of here today? Let's see. WB2DX says, I can see Jeff going to OU next year.
Jeff Scott?
I mean, that wouldn't.
Maybe.
I mean, I guess that wouldn't surprise me if that happened. I tell you what. Speaking of OU, Brent Venable's out here doing work in the transfer portal, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's out here getting some stuff done.
They need it though. They need it more than Clemson does. That roster is not in the best shape right now.
Yeah, they need some help on defense. They need some help everywhere, honestly. Lincoln Riley poached that roster. Question: Maffa or Shipley?
Like who's better? Or
I'm assuming that's what they're asking. Who's better?
I don't really like doing that.
I don't really like doing that either. Those are our dudes, man.
I think those are I know those. I mean they're roommates. They're really close. I don't like pitting them against each other
they've been like best friends since they got into the program, right? So
I don't know. They're different backs. I mean at the end of the day, I mean Shipley obviously he's the number one guy. They get, but I think Clemson's success on offense also, relies on having Maffa in their back pocket as well, and he provides a different look at position. Obviously, Shipley runs hard. He's shifty, good. He's very capable receiving threat. But Maffa is just a really good downhill runner. He's very physical. Man, his stiff arm it's comical watching him like stiff arm dudes and just. He's so powerful in his legs and contact balance, all of it.
Right, his leg drive when he encounters contact, I mean his legs never stop moving. The dude's an absolute beast to tackle. So, and I mean, Ship and Maffa, they're two totally different backs, right? But I think both equally important to Clemson's offense. You think back to like CJ Spiller and James Davis type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Both of those
it's very similar.
Yeah, it's very similar in the styles of both of those backs and kind of how they complement each other really well in this Clemson offense. So I don't think it's really a question of who's better. I think they both need each other. And I think it's important to have, you don't see I think a lot of teams are going to more of a, kind of a multiple back type of running back situation, right? Not necessarily, you may have one guy that gets the bulk of the carries, but there seems to be more of a switch to a kind of a rotation at the running back position in college, which I think is important for these guys because, I mean, you see dudes going off to the NFL, man, and, it's a short career. So if you can still ball out and then share carries with a guy that's, right there with you, and you guys can both be highlighted in an offense like Clemson, which I think Shipley and Maffa are both highlighted in Clemson's offense. I think they got the best case scenario, man.
Yeah. Instead of debating who's better, just be glad you have two backs in the backfield.
And the fact that they're okay with sharing carries with each other.
They haven't done because they're really close. Like I said, and they, they're roommates and they have a lot of each other, and there's no jealousy involved, and they both.
You feel like they're genuinely happy for each other when the other one goes out there and balls out, right, or breaks off a 20, 30, 40-yard run, right? Like it feels like they're happy for each other. I think we need both those dudes. They're crucial to this Clemson offense. We don't win the games that we won this year without those two dudes. That's for sure. We need more wide receivers, says Logan C. We talked a little bit about that. We would like to see Clemson maybe grab a portal receiver.
And I don't look at needing more wide receivers. I think they need more difference makers at wide receiver, and it's a little bit different. I don't think you need wide receivers just
right.
Speed and just I think you need, it would be best if they had some speed, but I think you need a guy that teams really have to prepare for. A guy that highlights your passing offense. So I don't think you just I don't think Clemson needs to take a wide receiver just to take one. If it's we'll take a flyer on this guy because we need the numbers. I don't think Clemson needs the numbers, but I think they do need a difference maker, and that's kind of what makes the wide receiver thing a little bit different from the other positions we talked about, because it's not really a numbers issue. I think you have a good amount of scholarship wide receivers, but you don't really have, not all of them are, some of they're solid. You have some solid guys, but you don't really have any game changers. Other than Antonio Williams, but I don't think Antonio Williams should be your first option.
He can't be, right? He's not.
Yeah.
He's not a first option type of receiver, right?
Right.
He's a slot guy. He's a guy that's going to be a speedster that can go across the middle. He can go up the seam, right? There's different things that he can do that you can do to give him the ball, and he is an explosive player. But a guy of Antonio Williams' build shouldn't be your number one guy at receiver, right? He should be your complementary guy that is the reason that you can't focus so much on your number one guy, because you also have a guy like Antonio Williams in the lineup that can, absolutely put the burners on and destroy your defense as well, right? So
absolutely.
Good point here. Randall was coming off an injury. He will improve next year. Well, we got to hope so. We got to really hope that Adam Randall takes that next step this coming season, right? We really need him to grow in the offseason, to truly put that injury behind him, and really take that next step. We need him to take that next step. And we've had a few receivers now that we've been waiting to take that next step, and they haven't. So hopefully Adam Randall is a guy that can take that next step and really come on for Clemson's offense next year. And if he does, I think
from everything they've said about him, and
we'll be in good shape if he does. And and they've had the coaching staff, to your point, has had high praise for Adam Randall. Unfortunately, he just, he suffered that injury early on and kind of had to battle back. Let's see. The wide receiver from Missouri is the speed you need.
Yeah, Dominic Lovett. Yeah,
that's the hard take. Yeah, Dominic Lovett would be a huge get for Clemson if we could get that guy. I'll let you take this one. Philip Medlin says, "Has the portal hurt Clemson thus far?"
That's a very loaded question. It could mean a lot of different things. So how has it hurt Clemson as far as, you've lost guys that you've missed on, you lost guys that went on that you could have used. Not really. I don't know if there haven't been a ton of guys that have transferred out of Clemson that have gone on to be huge difference makers these past couple of years, especially with, especially this year. I don't really know of anybody. I think Joseph Charleston had a nice year at Missouri. I think he was a starter.
It was okay.
I thought he had a decent year. Ches Malusi at Wisconsin, he's been hurt, but when he was in there, he was getting decent production. But other than that, I don't know if there was a whole lot of Darian. I guess I forgot about Darian Kendrick. Darian Kendrick has probably been the best success story as far as guys that have transferred out of Clemson in recent years and gone on to be a major contributor. So at least in the modern transfer portal, I know I saw Big Mick mention Chase Bryce. I'm talking in the modern transfer portal era with the new rules and all that. I think Darian Kendrick has probably been the most successful, and he wouldn't have been in the portal had some other stuff happened. So I don't think the portal hurt Clemson necessarily.
Right. And I think this is the first year really that we have. We're going to have a significant amount of spots left after we sign our class, right? I don't think we haven't really had that too much in the past. So, and I think that goes to, kind of Dabo's approach the whole time with the transfer portal. He always said that if he feels like that we need to go to the transfer portal, then they will absolutely go to the transfer portal. And as we've stated, numerous times throughout this show and in other shows, this is the year that I think they truly feel like, they have to go to the portal to shore up some depth and some roster holes that we have.
Yeah, he was still picked up. Kendrick was cut. I'm aware, but I'm saying like he was. He wouldn't have even been in the portal had the off the field stuff happen. But honestly, when you think about it, what did Clemson miss Darian Kendrick? Because we're talking about, has the portal hurt Clemson? I missed Darian Kendrick last year. You had two first team All ACC corners and Andrew Booth and Mario Goodrich that stepped up, and you had a really good defense from top to bottom last year. Second. That defense was second in the country in scoring defense. So, I don't know. So I don't know if I don't think from that aspect the portal has hurt Clemson, but has Clemson not gone to the portal in years or in positions where they could have used a guy in the portal? Yeah, I think 2021 was a good example of that, because you just did not have. You couldn't have predicted what happened at wide receiver with the injuries, but not taking a guy at offensive line really did numbers on that team last year. And you started so many different guys. There's so many different offensive line combinations last year, and that was a mess. That 2021 offensive line was a mash unit, and
man, that was
just
rough.
Whoever fit. You had guys playing that you really
whoever wasn't hurt that day.
Yeah. So,
Good Lord.
Yeah. I think in that sense, not using the portal at certain positions has hurt Clemson, but losing guys to the portal, I don't think has hurt Clemson that much.
No, I don't think so. Not as much at all. Let's see. Next year looks like Bo, Randall, Antonio Williams, Stellato, Cole Turner, and maybe Ngata, at least Noble Johnson, could eventually contribute, but who knows by August what the depth chart looks like. Yeah, some of those dudes may not even be there by August.
Yeah,
it's the crazy world we live in college football. If somebody doesn't like where they are after spring practice and where they fall on the depth chart, best believe there will probably be more transfers other than these 9. I'm sure before next August, someone else will transfer from Clemson that are not a part of the 9 that we talked about tonight.
I would be surprised if no one else entered, but
right. We hope not, but that's kind of the name of the game in college football now. John Smith's got a question for us. He said, "What do you guys see as far as the guys coming in? So our recruiting class coming in this year, who will start next year, or I said, well, we won't go necessarily start, but maybe get some playing time." He said Peter Woods comes to mind. Yeah, that's the first and foremost, right? That's the easy answer. Peter Woods, I think he's definitely going to contribute next season. Does he start? I don't know, but I think he'll be in the defensive rotation. Just judging by, the size of the dude, the way he plays. If you look at his tape, the man is he's a beast.
Yeah, he's good. I think he'll be a real difference.
I don't think there's any keeping Peter Woods off the field next year.
Yeah, I think, and because of how good Peter Woods is, I think it's kind of he's kind of overshadowed how good the next best defensive lineman that Clemson has in their current recruiting class is Vic Burley. That guy is Vic Burley is he's a very just physically just impressive dude.
Right.
Just the motor he plays with, he's as dominant. I think he's almost as dominant as Peter Woods is. Just watching him on tape. He plays for a good high school league. He's he's a dude. I think it would not surprise me if Vic Burley came in and carved out a role early too, at defensive tackle no less, where Clemson is has some guys. I really like his tape a lot. It would not surprise me if he was a contributor early. As far as other guys, depending on what Clemson does at the wide receiver position, I don't really see the wide receivers that Clemson currently has in their class, Noble Johnson, Ronan Hannafin, and Tyler Brown. I don't know how many. I don't know if Johnson or Hannafin start or play a lot early. Tyler Brown is interesting because of his speed. Maybe he carves out a role, but I don't know. It's hard to see any of them really necessarily getting in the rotation very, very early.
Right.
I don't know. I really like this class, but I don't know if it's full of instant contributors.
Yeah. I think
on the offensive side of the ball, at least.
Yeah, I think Peter Woods is kind of the one that we know is going to be an instant contributor, and then maybe somebody else comes and surprises you. Or maybe there's injuries or something like that. We hope not, but we'll see. JR,
maybe some of the linebackers. I like some of the linebackers that Clemson has. I would maybe,
but we got some.
Anderson.
Yeah. We got some dudes at linebacker, but they may get in the rotation.
Yeah.
JR says Randall looks like a tight end. His feet move like a tight end. What do you think about that?
I don't necessarily agree with that because just watching him, I mean, Randall has won some reps. He's gotten behind it. I've seen, we saw him get behind the defense, multiple times. On that throw that Cade, that I think it was a post. I think he ran a post. He got behind, and Cade was late throwing it. They ended up drawing a pass interference penalty, but if Cade had pulled the trigger early, that was possibly a touch. He had a step on the defender, but Cade was late, and they gave the safety a chance to get back into play as well. So I don't.
Right.
And listen, we have to keep in mind that Randall is coming off of an ACL tear, and
right.
An ACL tear that no one expected him to be back, this quickly for. And he had a really.
He pulled on Amari Rogers, right, coming back from that ACL.
He pulled on Amari Rogers.
You even look back to Amari Rogers when he came back from his.
He wasn't necessarily.
He wasn't really back to himself until that following season, right?
Yeah.
So, maybe next year, Adam Randall's a little bit healthier, can move a little bit better, trust that knee a little bit more, and we'll see where he's at. But the coaches speak glowingly of him, so we'll see where it goes. The hard take says Stellato is a bust.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean,
I don't think we can know. He's never on the field. He's hurt all the time. So
he's been hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, you maybe you're right, but I don't know. I've done that yet.
Said Glass doesn't play football well. I guess talking about how he's always hurt. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You got a point. I
don't know. Some guys figure it out later. Later. I mean, he's he's been behind because he's been hurt. He's been behind on his development, and so it's just we don't know. I don't like putting the bust label on anybody this early in their career. He's really, I mean, he's been here 2 years, 2 seasons, and he wasn't really able to be a contributor last year. So I don't know. He's got time. I'm not ready to say that yet.
Yeah,
we'll see though.
Oh, here's an interesting one. We'll take a couple more and then we'll get out of here. We've been going for over 2 hours now. Do you guys think the problem was Streeter or the play Streeter was calling to cater and benefit DJ? Because of the UNC game looked much different in terms of offensive plays that were called. That's an interesting question. I still think Clemson needs a refresh on offense. I still hold to the fact I don't think one game, albeit it looked good, but let's also keep in mind who we were playing. I have said on this show all year that North Carolina's defense is not good. Every bad offense's get-right game is North Carolina's defense. I said it numerous times. I stand by it. Now, does that mean everything that Cade did in that game doesn't hold any weight? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I still think there are problems with the scheme that Clemson is currently running. I still think it needs to have new breath breathed into it, if you will. It needs a refresh. It needs, something like that. So, yeah, do I think maybe DJ's ability in kind of a, RPO offense made play calling limited? That could be part of it. But I also think that Clemson could use a refresh on offense. Jordan?
Yeah, I kind of agree there. And I don't know if I kind of push back on the notion that the plays that Clemson called were necessarily different with Cade in. Yeah, there were a couple wrinkles here and there, like that throwback screen to
With,
from Maffa to Cade.
Yeah, Maffa, the best QBR on the team. Phil Maffa.
Yeah. Phil Maffa QB1,
19 yards.
He had like a 99 QBR or something, total QBR or something like that.
He's got the best QBR in college football.
Yeah. No, but I pushed. It really wasn't the kind of plays that were different when Cade was in. Yeah, like I said, there were a couple of wrinkles here and there that they ran with Cade which when you think about it, you wouldn't run with DJ. You wouldn't run that play, that little throwback to DJ. He's just not. He doesn't have that speed to really run that kind of screen. But other than that, the plays weren't different. The Clemson still did their screens. They did their quick game. They really didn't. And honestly, they didn't really run the ball. The concepts weren't different. And
it was the same Clemson offense.
Yeah, I think the difference was the timing and the cohesiveness in the execution.
The offense was in rhythm.
It felt like that. Yeah, it felt like everything was together a little bit more. I feel like especially on the screens, Cade got the ball out quicker. It just seemed like the ball got to the receiver on time and gave them chances to make plays after the catch. It was placed better and to allow them to just use their momentum to carry them forward, and instead of sometimes when DJ was in, the screen would be a little behind or too far in front, and it would carry their momentum into a blocker or something like that, and just the timing was all off. I felt like when Cade was in the game, just the moving parts seemed to be in sync a lot more. So I think that was more of the difference, not necessarily that there was different plays called for Cade, because that's been the narrative by some online, and you watched it. It's like I didn't really
plays.
See. Yeah, there were only a couple of plays that
they were executed better. The offense stayed ahead of the chains.
Yeah,
they stayed in rhythm. They had confidence, and you see what happens when an offense operates with confidence and operates ahead of the chains. You can, you really. Your whole playbook is still open, right, on second and third down, because you're staying ahead of the chain. So it makes things look different, but it wasn't a different offense, and I still hold true to my thoughts on Clemson's offense like I did before. I think it needs a refresh.
Yeah.
Not saying they got to completely just like throw it out and bring everything new in as wholesale, but I think there needs to be, some newness with the Clemson offense. It's become stale. It's become old. It's become predictable. And when you play better defenses, it's very evident that they know exactly what Clemson's going to do. And I don't think that has changed. Hopefully it changes this offseason.
We'll see.
We shall see. But, guys, we'll take one more. This will be the last one, guys. Then we're going to get out of here, okay? We've been at this for over 2 hours at this point. Question: should everybody be completely sold on Cole Turner already? No, they should not be sold on Cole Turner already. He had he's had some good games, a couple games, right? He's had some good catches. He's come up with some good plays. He looks promising, but he's got way more to prove before we're sold on Cole Turner. I know the coaches are high on him. They've sung his praises, much like they did Adam Randall. They saved him for the end of the season because they thought that he could help them in a end of season scenario where they're playing, some bigger games and some better competition. So clearly they thought he could be a wrinkle that they could throw in that could really hurt a defense that wasn't necessarily prepared for him. So they do think that highly of him, but sold on him? No. He's still got a lot to prove, but he looks promising. So let's hope he continues to develop.
Right. I don't think you should be sold on, really, anybody on the offense right now. I mean, maybe other than
Antonio Williams. I'm sold on Antonio
and
Williams.
The running game. I don't think you should be even Cade. I don't think you should be.
Especially Cade.
Yeah.
Especially Cade.
Yeah. But they've all shown promise, and you should have reason for. You should be optimistic. Right. I don't think you should be sold. I don't think you should, just go all in because, I was all in on DJ after the Notre Dame game, and that didn't work out the way we thought it would. So, the first Notre Dame game,
we all were. Everybody in Clemson Nation was all in on DJ. They're like, that's what made losing Trevor Lawrence. We knew we were going to lose Trevor Lawrence, but we're like, hey man, we got DJ. Look what he did.
Yeah,
this man threw for almost 1,000 yards in 2 games.
Yeah,
so we'll be all right.
That's going to go down as one of the least predictive performances of all time. Just
crazy.
Yeah, but
crazy.
I don't want to make this another thing about DJ, but using it as an example. So yeah, I don't think anybody should be sold now necessarily.
Yep.
Especially on offense, because like other than the guys I mentioned. Because we don't have enough of a sample size. We have one game of Cade and Cole Turner and guys like that. But you have reason for optimism. You have reason to think you have some guys that could be some key contributors in the bowl game and next season. So
I think we got some spots for guarded optimism with this Clemson offense.
Absolutely.
Guarded optimism. Hey, we got a super chat. Logan C, thank you for getting in. $1.99 super chat. Thanks for doing this. Y'all rock. Hey, you rock too. Logan. You rock, Logan.
We appreciate it.
We wouldn't have this show or the ability to do this without you guys in the comment section. And that's just real. Me and Jordan can talk football all day, but if there's nobody here to watch, then what's the point? Then we're just we're just 2 dudes talking football to ourselves, right? On a computer for whatever reason. So you guys getting into the chat section, getting your comments out there, arguing with each other, doing the whole 9. We love it. We love to see it. Thanks for your support. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for subscribing to our channel and supporting, our little show that we have on Mark Rogers' channel here. We enjoy doing it, and we thank you guys for coming out. But with that, I think we're going to end the show tonight. We've been going on for 2 hours and 20 minutes at this point. I think me and Jordan, got other stuff to do. We need to move on from this. But with that said, before I let Jordan close the show out, we will be back on next week to do a show. So be on the lookout for that. We will be back next week to do another live show. So just because it's the off season, me and Jordan and DeAndre, we're going to keep doing things here on the channel. So stay tuned. We got some ideas. Don't abandon us just because college football's winding down. We will still bring the content to you guys. We will still bring the live videos, and we'll continue to talk college football all throughout the spring and summer. So with that said, thank you guys for showing up again, and then I'll let Jordan close us out with the last words.
Appreciate it. This has been an awesome show. We had a really good audience tonight. some new guys. We've had our, some of our usuals, and I've seen some guys that we don't typically see on these live shows. So this audience is growing. So I'm really happy that you guys are enjoying the content. So please continue to show up, and interact in the chat. Subscribe if you haven't. Share the channel with other Clemson fans or other college football fans that because the more the merrier. And we're trying to grow this channel. So thank you guys. We'll be back next week to talk some more Clemson football.
Awesome. See you guys next week. I'm Tiger Paul. He's Jordan Bowman. See you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.